Hi, everybody. Good morning, Hillsiders and friends. Welcome to our meditation service. Thank you for joining us. I'm still working on getting my caffeine fix for today, so I hope you're doing the same. Thank you for being up and joining us, or if you're here in the afternoon, thank you for joining us. Then, now, of course, we all believe that we can be spiritually together even when we are physically and even temporally separate. So thank you for being here. As usual, I will leave announcements to coffee hour, and I hope to see you there. Let me know if you do not have the link. And let's just enter into our contemplative space this morning with a centering moment. Let's take some breaths, close our eyes. Let's really take some deep breaths. Become fully present in this new day. Notice the sounds around you, even the little subtle ones. Notice the way your body and your mind feel this morning. Maybe picture yourself sitting where you are sitting, or standing or laying down, or whatever you're doing. Observe yourself. Perhaps try to do it without judgment, even if it's difficult, just for a moment. Let's sit with ourselves for a moment in non-judgmental present. And now let's visualize a bright orange, warm ray and bolt of sun emanating from the sky into our body and filling us up with warmth, with light, and with truth. Our first reading for meditation this morning is from Isaiah 51, verses 9 through 16. Awake, awake, arm of the Lord. Clothe yourself with strength. Awake as in days gone by, as in generations of old. Was it not you who cut Rahab to pieces, who pierced that monster through? Was it not you who dried up the sea, the waters of the great deep? Who made a road in the depths of the sea so that the redeemed might cross over? Those the Lord has rescued will return. They will enter Zion with singing. Everlasting joy will crown their heads. Gladness and joy will overtake them, and sorrow and sighing will flee away. I, even I, am he who comforts you. Who are you that you fear mere mortals, human beings who are but grass, that you forget the Lord your Maker, who stretches out the heavens and who lays the foundations of the earth, that you live in constant terror every day because of the wrath of the oppressor who is bent on your destruction? For where is the wrath of the oppressor? The cowering prisoners will soon be set free. They will not die in their dungeon. For I am the Lord your God, who stirs up the sea so that waves roar. The Lord Almighty is his name. I have put my words in your mouth and covered you with the shadow of my hand. I who set the heavens in place, who laid the foundations of the earth, and to say to Zion, you are my people. From Emmanuel Swedenborg, Divine Providence, section 137. Compulsory worship is physical, lifeless, dark, and depressing. It is physical because it engages the body, but not the mind. It is lifeless because our life is not in it. It is dark because our discernment is not in it. And it is depressing because the joy of heaven is not in it. On the other hand, when voluntary devotion is sincere, it is spiritual, living, bright, and joyful. It is spiritual because there is a spirit from the Lord in it. It is living because there is life from the Lord in it. It is bright because there is wisdom from the Lord in it. And it is joyful because there is heaven from the Lord in it. Nothing becomes part of us except what we do in freedom and in accord with reason. This is because freedom is a matter of our volition, and reason is a matter of our discernment. When we do something in freedom and in accord with reason, then we do it of our own volition, by means of our own discernment. And whatever is done by these two united becomes part of us. And from A Course in Miracles, chapter 8, section 4. Your will is as free as mine, and God himself would not go against it. I cannot will what God does not will. I can offer my strength to make yours invincible, but I cannot oppose your decision without competing with it and thereby violating God's will for you. Nothing God created can oppose your decision, as nothing God created can oppose his will. God gave your will its power, which I can only acknowledge in honor of his. If you want to be like me, I will help you, knowing that we are alike. If you want to be different, I will wait until you change your mind. I can teach you, but only you can choose to listen to my teaching. How else can it be if God's kingdom is freedom? Freedom cannot be learned by tyranny of any kind, and the perfect equality of all God's sons cannot be recognized through the dominion of one mind over another. God's sons are equal in will, all being the will of their Father. This is the only lesson I came to teach. And finally, from Jiddu Krishnamurti's Freedom from the Known. Meditation is a state of mind which looks at everything with complete attention. Totally, not just parts of it. And no one can teach you how to be attentive. If any system teaches you how to be attentive, then you are attentive to the system, and that is not attention. Meditation is one of the greatest arts in life, perhaps the greatest, and one cannot possibly learn it from anybody. That is the beauty of it. It has no technique and therefore no authority. When you learn about yourself, watch the way you walk, how you eat, what you say, the gossip, the hate, the jealousy. If you are aware of all that in yourself without any choice, That is part of meditation. So meditation can take place when you are sitting in a bus or walking in the woods full of light and shadows, or listening to the singing of the birds, or looking at the face of your wife or child. In the understanding of meditation, there is love. And love is not the product of systems, of habits, of following a method. Love cannot be cultivated by thought. Love can perhaps come into being when there is complete silence. A silence in which the meditator is entirely absent, and the mind can be silent only when it understands its own movement as thought and feeling. To understand this movement of thought and feeling, there can be no condemnation in observing it. To observe in such a way is the discipline. And that kind of discipline is fluid, free, not the discipline of conformity. After those readings, I almost feel like a message is inappropriate. Maybe we should just kind of be in silence for a little longer. But I'll share just a few thoughts anyways, and we can have some more conversation at coffee hour as usual. So this past week in our Friday reading group, we were deliberating about what to read next. We just finished reading Swedenborg's Divine Providence, and we felt like we kind of wanted to read something that isn't original Swedenborg material, but by someone about Swedenborg, a Swedenborgian thinker. And of course, we ended up with one of the greatest, the Reverend Dr. George Dole, and his book that came out a while ago, Freedom and Evil, A Pilgrim's Guide to Hell. It's an excellent book, and as you can kind of tell by the title, it kind of engages the themes of freedom and the theme of evil. And, you know, George Dole is, as you may know, just an amazing scholar and thinker and theologian and philosopher. So there's a lot of beautiful personal accounts and contemplations about that theme from a Swedenborgian perspective. And looking back into that book by George Dole, it's been a few years since I read it, and picking the readings for today, thinking about freedom, I was just kind of contemplating what freedom means to me on a spiritual level, and how it relates to the concept of evil. What do I mean by freedom, and what do I mean by evil? And I'm not asking that. It's a rhetorical question. I don't know. I really don't know. It's such a complex topic, right? But I feel that a lot of times when we think of freedom, we have that kind of ingrained idea of rugged individualism, which I think there's actually something to it. There's healthy individualism, right? There's a healthy valuing of the uniqueness and the independence of the individual person, right? But I find that when I think about freedom, I instantly think of freedom from something. Running away from something, getting away from a perceived sense of restraint or imprisonment. It almost always seems like a reactive thing. And it almost always seems like a movement away from. And I think what Swedenborg and many of the other great mystics are inviting us to contemplate is perhaps freedom is not about separation. Perhaps freedom is about oneness. When we think about the Swedenborgian concept of evil, in a nutshell, one of the ways to paraphrase it is that evil in Swedenborg's thought is a perceived separation from the divine. Goodness is a state of union. Goodness is a state of oneness. And we sometimes choose to live in the appearance of separation, which Swedenborg claims is at its very core not real. There's no such thing. Nothing unconnected ever occurs. So what's the role of freedom if it is not to break away from something, but to unite with something? Doesn't that imply conformity? Doesn't that imply a giving away of agency? And I don't know the answer to that in a natural setting. But if we look once again at Swedenborg's concept of what evil is, the perception of separateness, and what regeneration spiritual growth is, which is that reuniting. I invite us to think about, once again, just as a thought experiment, what if we were completely at one with all that is? If we were completely present, indiscriminately, with all that is, without a sense of me or mine, without a sense of pleasure or pain, without a sense of good or bad, if we were truly present, if we were free from our attachments, both the good ones and the bad ones, and we simply were, wouldn't we be completely free? And that's, again, what I invite us to think about today, is in order to be free, do we need to further and further and further develop our ego, this perception of a separate self? Or do we maybe twist it around for a little bit? And rather than seeking freedom from something, acknowledging the freedom that there already is when we detach from the natural and enter a state of union with the ultimate, which Swedenborg would argue is divine love and truth, and it's available to us at all times. Hope that stirs up some conversation, and most importantly, some inner contemplation. I hope that y'all will join us for coffee hour. I definitely still need some. But thank you for bearing with tired Tommy this morning. Before we wrap up and merge into coffee hour, let's take another moment to center ourselves. Maybe take some breaths again. For a moment, let's forget the readings, the message, the thoughts we had about it, and just be fully present. Now let's consciously connect to that inner source of total peace and total freedom, that is the same in all of us and animates all of us. And let's bring everything that we carry into this moment, into this new week. Let's simply surrender it in that peaceful center. And let's also invite into that peaceful center all people that we care about, people that we don't care about, all beings on this planet. Let's invite into that center loved ones that have passed on, Let's invite each other into that center as hillsiders. And let's simply be there together for a moment. And trust that the love and the wisdom that connects us is not our own. Amen. So mote it be. Hope to see you in a few. Hope you can join us, and I'd love to see your faces on Zoom. And in either case, have a wonderful Sunday. It looks like it's going to be beautiful, and this week is supposed to be quite nice too. All right, be well and healthy and safe. Peace and power.